welcome to Daily Space Weather, folks. Looking at the sun at 193 angstroms. Coronal holes around the South Pole, in addition to in the north. Very well-defined coronal hole up here. Let's zoom in on the equatorial region, as there's a little bit of activity kicking off around there too. No sunspots. And some activity rising over the eastern limb. We'll show you in a minute. Here's a 171 angstroms movie that we've created on HelioViewer. And you can see some activity there around the equator as well as north of it. Next we'll go to 304 angstroms, as we see some giant filaments in the north. And there's the full disk. And we've got a close-up of that filament in the northwest as well from HelioViewer. And there's a good image of that. And let's go to HelioViewer, look at the magnetic fields. There's the 171 angstroms view. And there are the fields. Places to watch for sunspots would be down here in this plage, although it's looking weaker, as well as up here, a little bit of magnetic organization happening there. And let's look at some more data like the X-ray flux, which is fairly flatlined here. No real surprise there. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, which for you new viewers is a good proxy for sunspot number. This 10.7 centimeter radial flux was discovered in 1947 by some Canadians with some World War II antennas. And since then, it is another measurement of solar activity. KP index is at 2. And we see a fairly weak solar wind here. Solar wind density 3.05 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 350 kilometers a second. Phi angle has been hovering around 180 degrees since we made the video, indicating the possibility of a sun-to-earth magnetic connection. And there's the data from ACE showing about the same thing. Next we'll look at the geospace magnetosphere movies. 4 hours of data here, and everything's looking quite steady in terms of magnetohydrodynamic pressure in space. And that, since that refreshed, we're going to let that run through all the way. Nothing too exciting happening there. No magnetic perturbations or solar wind anomalies really going on. And next we'll look at the ground magnetic perturbations, changes in the Earth's B field. And we see some perturbations there over both the Canadian and the Siberian pole. Possible indications that the South Pole is splitting into two as well, but it is certainly creeping into the southern Indian Ocean there, southwest of Australia. In fact, it's in the Indian Ocean now, the South Geomagnetic Pole. And let's look at more data here. There is the electron flux. Greater than 2 mega electron volt flux is still at moderate levels. And we're expecting to see a larger uptick in this. Surprised that it didn't get to higher levels yesterday. Expecting that to happen today. And there are the lower level electron flux. Goes 14 and 15, greater than or equal to 2 and greater than or equal to 0.8 mega electron volts. There's the data from that. Next we'll look at the ionosphere, and we've got an interesting article about Mars's ionosphere and how it could relate to Earth's, as this sort of stuff is indeed used in things like radio signal propagation. Anyway, there's 6 hours from Government of Australia Bureau of Meteorology, and there's the current conditions at 9 o'clock UT. So the MAVEN mission, which is Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution spacecraft, has discovered layers and rifts in the Martian ionosphere. And let me just play a teaser here to get you to read the article.
Have you ever tried to listen to your...
Perhaps you'll know more about the Earth's ionosphere as a result. Anyway, it's interesting that we see rifts in the Martian magnetosphere, and we see them every day on this channel. So, yeah, check out the article from SciTech Daily, probably my favorite online science publication. And it is indeed a good article. It'll teach you about both Earth and Mars's atmospheres, and we're talking about the E layer, which is the layer just below the F layer. And this has to do with the way the electrons in the ionosphere re-emit the radio signals, acting like a mirror. And they're really re-emitting the signals, folks. They're not really reflecting the signals. But in any case, some more unexpected discoveries. And isn't that the way science always works, folks? The more we head down the rabbit hole, usually we end up with more answers than questions. I mean, more questions than answers, I should say. So once again, unexpected discoveries, and we welcome those, as when you immerse yourself in the data, you often find out things that nobody else yet knew. And the GOES magnetometers are looking similarly spiky as we forecasted yesterday. There's the data from that. And we're partially basing this on the GONG-2 data. So here's the top view ecliptic plane field plot that we look at every day. This data 1 hour and 28 minutes old. It looks like we see some activity on the far side of the sun there. As you can see, some field adjustments. And for you new viewers out there, this data is derived from about 50 ground-based magnetometers, as well as one on stereo A, which is located over here, and one on stereo B, which is located over here. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change with no warning. Speaking of no warning, let's look at earthquakes. We don't see anything over a 6 magnitude, although here is an extremely deep quake coming in at 11:14 yesterday. 4.7 magnitude quake at 623 kilometers, as that area north of New Zealand is indeed the deep earthquake capital of the world. Looks like a bit of a lull in earthquakes, folks. And I'm just going to scroll up the list here. There's a deep one in Indonesia once again. We saw one in a similar location yesterday, hinting at the possibility of a larger quake at the surface there, maybe a small 5. There's a deep quake in Tajikistan, north of India, that 4.3 magnitude trembler at 191.3 kilometers. There was a quake out in the Aleutian Islands also, possibly magmatic activity. So it's a bit of a lull in earthquakes, really, folks. One other thing to note is this odd one out here. Looks like it's nowhere near a plate boundary. That 4.3 coming at Makhovik, Canada. That one happened at 1758 yesterday. And check out this article. Now this guy is creating mantle-like conditions, allegedly, in the laboratory. Do viscosity measurements offer new insights into the Earth's mantle? Survey said. Aw, man. Anyway, this is another article about assumptions built upon other assumptions, built upon other assumptions, built upon other assumptions. The idea that there's a liquid mantle inside the Earth and all this sort of stuff. This is all about the Earth's viscosity, folks. And viscosity measurements are, let's just say, a little odd. What this guy did is he used a heating element and a boron-doped diamond, and he heated up the brigmentite to 3,000 degrees Celsius and determined that that's what the Earth's made out of. And we really don't have any insight into what's going on inside the Earth. As we can't drill there, all we're doing is using seismic measurements typically to make guesses about what the Earth's composed of. And let's just say we've got alternate theories. Anyway, folks, I don't believe there's a magma ocean down there. However, feel free to read the phys.org article about viscosity measurements offering new insights into the Earth's mantle. And we are looking at Ionospheric, which has erupted. Let me zoom out on windy.com, show you the location of that volcano. And we're going to show you a larger webcam in a minute. First, let's look at the pressure zones. Here's what it was doing yesterday, by the way. There it is 3 hours ago, 6 hours ago. So Ionospheric is erupting, and I figured we'd show you some visuals on that. Let's zoom out and look at the pressure map. And we're going to let this advance about 24 hours here. This is the GFS forecast for pressure, folks. And if you weren't aware, windy.com has a great mobile app that has more data than you could ever even want. Although maybe you do want that much data. There's where things will be at 12 UT tomorrow. Some high pressure moving into the western US. And going back to Ionospheric, there is the webcam, and we'll leave links to this also below the video. That's a pretty recent image, folks. That image is from 9:13 UT, so Ionospheric currently erupting. And if you want to watch it, links below the video. It's been producing an 18,000-foot ash plume. Mount Abico also erupting, 9,000-foot ash plume there. Mount Aso, flight level 7,000 there. Kuchinarabu-jima, flight level 3,000 there. Excuse me, Sakurajima, flight level 9,000. Semaru, flight level 14,000 as it explodes. Tokono, continuous emission, 7,000-foot plume there. Fuego, 15,000-foot plume via some explosive activity. Sangay, new emissions there. And Sabancaya, unable to detect. Please don't try to pole vault the caldera. Talk about human health for a quick moment. Did you know that nearly 1 in 5, that's 25% of antibiotics, prescribed to Medicaid patients are prescribed with no infection diagnosis? Isn't that great? That's your taxpayer dollars at work, folks, making the world a more dangerous place. Now, I haven't taken any antibiotics since 2011, I believe it was. And there's a good reason for that. It's because your own immune system is vastly superior to any antibiotics. So if you can go without them, we highly recommend that you do, as overuse of antibiotics is one of the most dangerous things in the world, as it creates antibiotic-resistant strains of all sorts of different things, whether they're fungus, bacteria, or viruses. Another SciTech Daily article about 45% of antibiotic prescriptions have no clear rationale. Some of these prescriptions weren't even based on a visit to the doctor. So, some shocking lack of credibility in the prescription process of Medicaid patients. How about that? That's the government at work for you, folks. Have you checked out smAsho.com/forum? We have a massive section, a huge repository of information about coronavirus. If you want to read about it, check out smAsho.com/forum. Create a login. Who knows? Start your own subject. We're interested in all kinds of stuff, and we're not going to censor you, so please do not make a fool of yourself. Some new concerns about coronavirus, that it could be transmitted without any direct contact, suggesting that it could be on a doorknob or something like this, as it's possible that the virus could survive for about 5 days if the conditions are are right and the service is smooth enough, I guess. So anything from mobile phone screens, computer keyboards. One guy thinks he caught it from, and he is a confirmed case, thinks that he caught it from the use of a microphone of an infected person. So again, check out smashomash.com/forum if you want to read about coronavirus. We've got a massive repository there. And it's all in one subject thread, folks. 2 pages worth of posts about it. Here's the current graph, courtesy of this Johns Hopkins page. And links to that are also at smashomash.com/forum. So it looks like it's leveling off a little bit here in terms of confirmed cases in China. 20,000 cases worldwide confirmed. And there's the country breakdown. 11 cases in the U.S. right now. And Hong Kong, I believe, had its first death as a result. Anyway, that's your coronavirus update. And looking at lightning, as we're always interested in the data, a vertical line of lightning striking South America. What is up with that? A nearly north to south line from Lima, Peru up to Panama. Anyway, if you want to check out lightning in real time yourself, head to lightningmaps.org. It's good times. And next we're going to look at the U.S. Doppler radar map as we get into value-added services for all of our loyal viewers. And by the way, thanks for tuning in, folks. Whether you're viewing in syndication or at the live premiere event, we appreciate your patronage. Some heavy rain across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri, and some significant snow there across Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, and New Mexico. Next, we're going to look at the water vapor map to see a bunch of different systems crashing together here. And we're going to look at Texas after this plays through one additional time. And there's today's zone of massive pressure gradients. If you're flying across Texas today, expect some turbulence to say the least. You may feel like you've flown into a wall and then like you're falling out of the sky on the same flight. Especially if you're going west to east, as this wet air here is much less massive due to the molecular mass of water vapor versus atmospheric nitrogen, which is 2 nitrogen atoms, by the way, folks. And let's move on to the nullschool.net jet streams. And here we're looking at the eastern world, and we see some oddball flow around the equator there, pulling equatorial air up into India, as well as a doubled up jet stream in the southern Indian Ocean. Here's the western world. Let me turn that a little more. There you go. There's the western jet streams, and you can see extreme meridional jet stream flow, multiple 180-degree turns, doubled up and tripled up jet streams over the Atlantic Ocean. Cold air ending up where it doesn't belong, and as well as warm air. Hey, Smash team. Thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to leave a comment. Press like and subscribe on YouTube if you enjoy the content. Please consider becoming a patron, the real source of funding for these videos and our entire operation. Thanks, patrons, for being assistant and indeed associate producers if you've joined at the gold level. And we've got more. And as we approach 1,500 subscribers, we ask you, will you be the 100th view of our cosmology segment, talking about protons and Z fields and poloidal fields and jets and blazars and Sagittarius A? Out into space. Not to mention intercalate gases and liquid metallic hydrogen lattices, taking some of the liquid metallic hydrogen with it. Anyway, check out that video if you haven't. We'll link that below this one as well. And let's look at another bonus feature. It's the local yellow dwarf. And as sunspot 2757 sets near the equator in the west, we do see a little bit of activity rising. You can see that active region there in the south. That's a cycle 25 plage, folks. Never turned into a sunspot. But again, there is some activity rising over the eastern limb, something to keep an eye on throughout the day. When I say eye on, the pun's intentional. And we are out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you drink, don't drive. Since the sun is the Rosetta Stone of cosmology, if you don't get how this star works, you don't get how any of them work. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back and that atherosclerosis absent from your veins.